गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम्। ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यं बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम्। ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवि वचक्षुराततम्। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। Can everyone say Hare Ramakrishna 3 times? Om Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna. And we will say Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha 3 times. Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha, Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha, Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha. We are in chapter 33, verse 46. Swamsyat sashthagate pape karshako jayate janah shubhagrahe lasascheti tritiyepi phalam smrutam. Swamsyat sashthagate pape. Swamsyat, from the swamsya, from the karakamsya, from the amsya of the atmakaraka, sashthagate pape. In the sixth house from the karakamsya, pape. If a papagraha is there, if a malefic planet is there, if a functional malefic occupies the sixth house from the karakamsya. Karshako jayate naraha means, Karshaka means one hard work, hard labor. Especially that word in general means somebody who works hard, and specifically it means an agricultural person, a farmer. So Karshako jayate naraha, person becomes a farmer. Shubhagrahe alasascheti. Tritiyepi phalam smrutam. Shubhagrahe alasascha iti. Shubhagrahe means, on the other hand, if it is a benefic planet, if it is not a malefic planet, but if it is a benefic planet, then if it is a functional benefic, then alasaha means lazy person. Tritiyepi phalam. The same way you give results in the third house. So from the Karakamsya, he is suggesting taking the third and sixth houses to see what kind of work one does. A benefic planet being there, he is lazy. A malefic planet being there, he works hard. Why? Well, third house is the house of initiative, and the sixth house is the house of overcoming obstacles, fighting problems. Especially one is initiative, the other is fighting spirit. So those houses, they have a, based on whether there is a benefic or malefic. Or it is also possible, even though he only said lazy, he is not lazy, but he doesn't know how to fight. He is too soft, or he doesn't know how to fight basically. So benefics, or he may not even have to fight. A benefic there may create a situation where you don't have to fight. You don't have to have a burning desire to do something and show initiative. Things may happen smoothly. On the other hand, if it is a malefic planet, he said he will be working hard, but it is also possible that he will be frustrated. He will basically, sixth house of fighting, if it has a malefic planet, there is a lot of energy focused on that house. So there is a lot of fighting going on, which means it can either mean somebody who is working hard or somebody who is frustrated is also another possibility. So depending on the strength, it can be either lazy or it can be to work hard. And similarly, if a malefic planet, depending on the strength, it may be either somebody who works hard and gets things done, or somebody who is just frustrated, who wants to do things and who is unable to do and who is frustrated. Chandra guru yasya bharya tasyati sundari tatra kamavati shukre budhe chaiva kalavati Ravo chasvakule gupta seno chapi vayodhika tapasvini rujadhyava rahau cha vidhva smruta. June means in the seventh house. We finished 6, now we are coming to the 7th house. So bottom line is 6th house is for fighting spirit and how much one works, what kind of problems one is solving. Now 7th house is obviously for relationships and wife and husband. June Chandra Guru Yasya. If Moon and Jupiter are in the 7th house from Karakamsya. Yasya Bharya Tasya Atisundari means Bharya Tasya means his wife is very beautiful. Basically, it is one possibility. Parashara obviously talks about one possibility. There are so many other possibilities. She is very noble, or she is very respected, she is very famous. Because Moon and Jupiter, they show fame. That combination, Moon and Jupiter combination shows fame. What is happening in the 7th house, it shows some kind of fame, some kind of reputation on account of either relationships or spouse. So it is possible that one is married to somebody famous or somebody beautiful or somebody, basically whatever qualities are considered virtues in the society. If some of those virtuous qualities are there, whether it's beauty or good character or being famous, that will basically make the person famous on account of the spouse in the society. So Moon and Jupiter in the 7th will give some kind of fame getting to wife. And specifically what Parashara is saying is, wife will be beautiful. And of course, if you are looking at a woman's chart, same thing with the husband. Husband will be either handsome or well known or famous, or there will be something good about the husband, which makes her famous on account of her husband. Tatra Kamavati Shukre. Tatra Kamavati Shukre. Shukra is there, then she has lot of desires. Shukra is the planet, is a Rajasic planet, whereas Moon and Jupiter are Sattvic. Shukra is a Rajasic planet. He shows lot of desires, etc. and lot of abilities also. So if the 7th house contains Shukra, again this is one possibility he is mentioning. There are so many possibilities. It may be that the wife is talented, artistic, maybe a good dancer, singer, artist, painter, good poetess. All these possibilities are there. But one of the possibilities is because Venus is the Karaka for luxuries and also desires. Somebody who likes luxuries, or somebody who lives in luxuries, or somebody who desires things, who has a lot of desires. I want this, I want that, like that. Tatra Kamavati Shukre Budhe Jaiva Kalavati. If Mercury is there in the 7th from Karakamsa, then Kalavati means arts, abilities basically. So she is very able, very capable, very talented in various kinds of arts. Storytelling, dances, singing, all kinds of arts. So basically, Mercury is being shown as the planet who gives lot of abilities. And in general, Mercury is the planet who shows versatility, right? By Kalavati, Venus can also give arts. Venus shows certain kinds of arts. Moon gives certain kinds of arts. And here, for Mercury, he is saying Kalavati, so he is obviously talking about somebody who is versatile. Mercury is the planet of versatility, having multiple talents, being able to do lot of things is shown by Mercury. So if Mercury is there, by Kalavati, my interpretation is somebody who is versatile and talented.
From Atmakaraka, 7th house means, why is telling attributes of other person? Like it should be attributes of the self. Atmakaraka being self.
Very good point. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Why are we seeing other people from Atmakaraka, from houses from Atmakaraka?
Because how the person
Perceives? Our perceptions from Karakam say Atmakaraka shows perception. What does Atmakaraka show?
Your soul level desire is what.
Yeah. Your sense of who you are, right?
Isn't it the sense of what the other person is for her?
Okay, let me put it this way. Let me actually take a big step back and say one thing. Do actually other people exist? If you really go by Vedanta, I am speaking to you, you are listening to me. So my mind tells me there are 5 people listening to me right now who are trying to understand what I am saying. That's what my mind tells me. That's what my eyes see. But the thing is, according to Vedanta, all is Brahman. There is no variety basically. Variety is perceived because the senses are there and the mind is listening to the senses. So, when we are talking about the Atmakaraka, you are talking about the soul. And at that level, is there really one viewpoint is to say that I have a soul, you have a soul, she has a soul, he has a soul, like that. That is one view. The other thing is soul is just an abstraction. There is nothing really called soul. This is my soul. All you have is my consciousness perceiving the world my consciousness is defined by who I am. My consciousness says, you are Narasimha Rao. You have these eyes through which you see. You have these ears through which you hear. You have this brain through which you think. You have this body which you use to go from one place to another place and interact with people. Like that, this I-ness, this sense of I, this egoism has been deeply drilled, and then my consciousness just perceives that. So consciousness, all consciousness is actually one, but a part of it has a particular I-ness stamped on it, and it is seeing the world through a particular prism. Okay, and then because of his conditioning, previous conditioning, it also sees. When it says this is I, it defines this is I, there is the rest. And then this is so-and-so person, this is so-and-so person, this is a good person, this is a bad person, this is a good thing to drink, this is a good book. Like that, basically, all these are nothing but my previous conditioning. Whatever I have done until now, using this I-ness in various previous lives, that is basically directing me to see the world, see Brahman in different ways, see different things within Brahman. So, to say that wife, father, these are all different people, this is basically when you are talking about the level of soul, right, when you are talking at the level of the consciousness, they are basically not really existent concepts. So, bottom line is, whether what you are talking about, when you say the seventh house from Karakamsa, right, Karaka, Atmakaraka, like I said earlier, shows your sense of this is I. And the rest is the universe. Husband, father, mother, wife, etc. And then the seventh house from it shows the sense, your I-ness perceiving the world as this is the other people that I am dealing with. This is my wife. Similarly, if you take the ninth house, it shows father. So when you define this is I, there is also a definition within your, at the level of your consciousness. Which, see, this may not be at the level of mind. This is at the level of your deep consciousness, which is guiding all your buddhi, manas, everything. Your chitta, all these are being guided by that consciousness. Basically, in terms of the parameters of antahkarna given in Vedanta, ahankara, buddhi, chitta and manas, Atmakaraka is basically ahamkara. Ahamkara meaning, ahamkara people somehow think it means pride. That's not the real meaning. That is the colloquial meaning today. Ahamkara means I, the sense of this is I, definition of I, that is ahamkara. So Atmakaraka shows ahamkara. So, all the manas, buddhi, chitta, the logical mind, buddhi, the remembering mind, chitta, the sensory mind, manas, the sensory mind and the motor mind, chitta, manas, all these are controlled by the ahankara. Ahankara is the boss. So, from that point of view, we are not talking about the regular what we see as mind, the logical mind or memory or the mind that sees things and hears things. We are not talking about that mind. We are talking about a very subtle mind above all these, which is where the notion that this is I and there is so much variety in this universe, that is embedded on that mind. We are talking about that when we talk about Atmakaraka. So, there is a concept that I so and so came to the world to do so and so. It has some notion. I wanted to do so and so thing in the last life, I didn't, so I am here to do that. Like that, there may be millions of notions or hundreds of thousands of notions which define this is I, and that is shown by Atmakaraka. Now, various houses from it define the rest of the universe that interacts with the Atmakaraka, with the consciousness. So, the consciousness, the individualized consciousness, sees various entities in the universe. Whether they exist or not, it basically sees, it perceives various entities in the universe. It thinks there are various entities in the universe. So, its notions about all those entities. So, basically one person, based on the previous karmas, his life may be defined by marrying a rich person. For example, he may have wanted to marry a rich person in the last life and it may not have worked out. So he may have died thinking, oh my God, I should marry a rich person. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. If in the case, when he is born now, the whole sense of I will be defined based on marrying a rich person. That will form the core of that person, right? Or marrying a beautiful person, or showing a lot of respect to a guru, having a great guru, having a good father. So the thing is, yeah, whatever you have is basically some desire, because you had some desire in a previous life. You have been given a setup in which your consciousness operates. But the thing is, whatever you desire doesn't come to fruition. But whatever you desire and have karmas to push it through, those are given to you as your Atmakarka, houses from Atmakarka, etc. in the horoscope. So again, coming back, I took step back, but now coming back to the actual point, the houses from Atmakarka show your sense of, this is my wife, this is my father, this is the universe that I interact with, these are the people that I interact with. So that sense, but the thing is, this is very subtle. This is not like you see your wife and say, your perception. This is not your perception of your wife or husband as you see. This is your sense of, this should be my spouse, this should be my wife. Your sense of, basically this shows the soul level desire or soul level ideas with which you are born, right?
And what you actually get is with respect to your lagna and
right.
So there
might be a discrepancy. Karakamsa is your aspirations, because soul aspires, but it may or may not be given what it aspires. So these are the aspirations, these are the ideas of the soul about you and your environment, the people around you, the interactions that you will lead. So these are Karaka is nothing but your sense of I-ness. This is I. So the notions of that sense of I, those are shown by various houses from Karakamsa. Okay, I am a scholar. Suppose the fifth house from Karakamsa is very powerful. It may show somebody whose sense of I-ness is defined by his knowledge. He may value scholarship a lot. He may have had at the time of death, basically whatever, so many thoughts can come to you when the consciousness is leaving the body, when it's basically being cut off. So the last thought, that becomes the seed for the next life. Whatever you aspired, you see, for example, Prithviraj Chauhan, right? He went to he fought with all these Muslim kings, Ghauri or Ghazni or somebody. He fought him. He deflected the attack so many times, and after some 18 or 19 attempts, he was defeated. So Muslims came to India, and then he was taken to Afghanistan or Iran, that area, and then he died there. And then according to Vimalananda, a yogi, according to his vision, according to what Mother Tara showed him, he had so many visions based on which he had various insights. One of his insights was Prithviraj Chauhan was born as Akbar, and his wife Samyukta, she was born as Jodha, who married Akbar. That was one of his insights. And the thing is, if you look at it, considering that it is true, if you analyze it, then how did Prithviraj Chauhan die? He was taken as a prisoner to the that Muslim empire, the Persian empire in the Iran-Afghanistan area, and then first of all, he spent some time there. He ate their food. He was given food and water by them. So some connections and some runas were formed with people who were in the area. There were runas with Rajputs also. That is why Akbar was actually brought up. His father was in exile, and his mother gave birth to him in a Rajput house, and he was actually brought up in the first 10 years of his life in a Rajput house in Rajasthan. Anyway, so at the time before he died, he saw all the nice sculptures, all the nice building structures, the architecture basically, which was different from what he was used to. He was used to the Rajput architecture, the Indian architecture, and it is a totally different style, and it is good too. It is rich in its own way, in a different way. So he probably, being a person of taste, being a great king, having great taste, until of course they removed his eyes before killing him, but he did see, before they did it, he did see all that all that beautiful architecture, and he probably heard their songs, their music, and probably his mind was attracted to those and thought, oh, this is also nice, this is different, but this is also nice. So maybe, suppose at the time of your death, suppose you were thinking about saving India from these people, or suppose you were thinking about their architecture, it is possible that you are born among them. There are stories in Yoga system where a deer, after being killed by a lion, at the last minute thinks, lion is so powerful, I wish I was a lion. And then next life it is born as a lion. Like that, there are examples in the Shastras. Bottom line is, whatever you contemplate at the last moment, I wish, oh, this is nice, I want this, I want this. Whatever you desire, if you have enough punya, enough karmas to actually get that, you will get that. So, that is shown by karka, atmakarka. Atmakarka is your aspirations, your sense of who you are or who you should be. So anyway, so is there, it will be somebody who is very talented and versatile, a very good learner. The next one is Ravaucha Swakle Gupta Shanoja Vivayodhika. Ravaucha Swakle Gupta means if it is sun in the 7th house, it is somebody who is confined to their own family and their own circles. So it's not somebody who goes around in the outside and socializes with other people, but somebody who is kept in the house. So somebody who leads a very orthodox kind of life, confined life. Why? Why sun can show? Of course, sun can show so many other things, but one possibility he mentions, to open up our thinking in a different direction, he gives all kinds of weird combinations, weird results. So why sun shows somebody who is hidden in the house or hidden in the family circles? Why sun shows that?
I mean, the person being isolated,
Person being?
like a person is like sun being is himself is a Vishwatma.
So?
Something he desires to realize something.
Okay.
His desires to, the 7th house means his desire. I mean, sun being is soul, represents soul, so maybe he confined to one place to.
But if you say sun is Vishwatma, he is everywhere. If you say sun is Vishwatma, he is the soul of the whole universe.
For this Atmakarka, he is.
Yeah. But why is sun showing confinement? What I suggest is, the issue is not really confinement. It is only a superficial factor. The real factor is, sun shows authority, right? Sun shows power and authority. So, sun being in the 7th house, two possibilities are there. One is, wife is very authoritative and assertive. It is also a possibility, 7th house is not just wife, 7th house is how you deal with wife. So, sun in the 7th house, one possibility is, you have a wife who can be dealt with authoritatively. Like you say, okay, do this, do that. You are basically like you are bossing the wife. So the issue here is not whether she is hidden from the world or moves only in the family circles and is basically a domestic wife. That's not the real issue, but the issue is the wife will be amenable to being treated in a bossy way. So you can boss the wife and say, okay, hey, come here, do this, do that, like that. Basically treating the wife as a boss. King or boss. Sun shows king and boss. Right?
It used to happen in the olden days.
Which it happens even now in some cultures. In some cultures more so than some other cultures, but it does happen everywhere. Some people do boss around their wives. They treat their wives as though they have to listen to them. So, sun being the planet of authority, he can show that kind of attitude to wife.
So it's a wife being own family. I thought the native is.
No, it's wife. Ravaucha Swakle Gupta. Wife is hidden from people and moves in small circles basically. Basically, her job is to cook food, give you food, and then sleep with you, and then not much basically. She doesn't come out, talk to people, she doesn't do much things. So basically treated like a servant or something, and that is possible because of the sun's influence. Now the next one is Shano Chapi Vayodhika. If Saturn is there, then she is older than the person. Why? Well, Saturn shows old people and wise people, slow people. For me,
It might also show a more mature wife.
it can also show more mature person. Yes, Saturn, more patient. Somebody who is very patient and mature. That is also a possibility. But one possibility is somebody older than you. Then Tapasvini, the next one. Tapasvini means one who does tapas. Tapas means basically austerity. One who's basically Saturn shows patience and austerity, self-deprivation. So somebody who can work hard, workaholic. It can also mean in the modern context, how many people do tapas. So it can be a workaholic. Workaholism is also basically a variation of tapas, a slightly rajasic tapas, right? I mean, tapas can be done for so many things. In the old days, some people did tapas because they just wanted moksha. They just wanted to realize self. Some people did tapas because they could get Brahma or Shiva and get a boon to rule the world. Or people did tapas for all kinds of things. So tapas can be sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. So people who are workaholics and who want to find a new gene or who want to find this, that, and then stay whole day and night in the laboratories and struggle, they are basically tapasvis. So that kind of things is also possible. So workaholic, somebody who is austere, and rujajha means ruj. Rujajha is ruj and ajha. Ruj is the word that comes, it is the root of roga. Roja is from ruj. So not, if you have the ru in rushi, that ruju is basically straight, but ruj with rakara, that is basically, that means disease, roga. So rujajha means somebody who's having, rogisthi in Telugu, somebody who has diseases, disease prone, sick basically, prone to sicknesses. Again, Saturn is the planet of physical weakness, right? So, and also he is the planet of sickness. So if Saturn is there, it can mean a spouse who's sickly. If Rahu is there, then Rahu is there, it is a widow. Well, Rahu is the planet of deprivation. Rahu is the planet of removing the light, right? It blocks. So, if Rahu is in the 7th house, it can show something undesirable about the wife. You married a widow.
Yeah, otherwise he will die.
Right. You are basically saying it is one possibility. There are so many other possibilities. The other possibilities are very materialistic. Another possibility is a foreigner. Bottom line is Rahu shows unconventional, untraditional, breaking the tradition. So Rahu's influence on the 7th house shows some untraditional influence on the marriage or something unusual. So it is possible that wife is a foreigner or wife belongs to a different caste, assuming that in the society where you are living, people are all married in the same caste. If that is normal, then it could be an intercaste marriage. Of course, if you are living in a time when intercaste marriages are very normal, people don't really marry within their caste, it doesn't really mean anything, then Rahu may not show it. Rahu shows untraditional. And tradition, it can't be defined. It changes from Desakala Patra, place to place, time to time, depending on the class of the people, it changes. So, when you judge the tradition based on Desakala Patra, and if you see something outside the box, that is Rahu. So there is something outside the box if Rahu is involved. What it means is, again, it doesn't mean the person will marry a widow or marry outside his caste or outside his community or outside his country. It doesn't necessarily mean it. What it means is, he fancies it or he likes it, he wants to do. That is what his soul, at the level of soul, the vasanas, the conditioning of the mind, maybe I should do. So the thing is, somebody with 7th house Rahu from Atmakarka in the Navamsa, when he sees a foreigner who has a Runa with him in a previous life. He may be more attracted than somebody else. He may be more inclined towards marrying foreigners or marrying people who are unusual, people who normally would not be considered by people of that background. So, Rahoja Vihasmata. The next one. Shubha Swami Yute Randhe Swamsya. Now we are in the 8th house. Shubha Swami Yute Randhe Swamsya Dirghayuruchyate Papekshita Yute Alpayuh Majjhayurmishra Dugyute. Okay. Shubha Swami Yute Randhe. Shubha Swami Yute Randhe means Yuta means conjoined with, Shubha means Shubhagraha, Swami means Lord. So the 8th house from the Atma Karakamsa either contains its own Lord or a benefic planet, a functional benefic planet. Then Dirghayuruchyate, he is long lived. Again, whether somebody is long lived or short lived is a fact. It's not. Why does it have to do with Karakamsa? Does it have to do with body? Body is long lived, not the soul, right? So why we are seeing from Karakamsa? Yeah, for the soul, having a long life is a big deal. If the 8th house from Karakamsa has these influences, to the soul, living a long life is a very important thing. Somebody like Vivekananda didn't care. Shankaracharya died very young. Vivekananda died before 40. So they may or may not care about how long they live. As long as you live, do your job, do your what you see as your dharma, and struggle if needed. Take your body through pain if you need, but get your job done. That was more important to them. The dharma was more important to them. But whereas somebody may have lived very short life and maybe he died very young in the previous life, and at the time of dying he may think, oh, I wish I lived long or something like that. Then in the next life, living a long life may become an important thing for the soul. So what it means is, it doesn't necessarily mean 8th house from Karakamsa being strong doesn't necessarily mean somebody will be living long. It only means somebody wants to live long, or his soul, it basically aspires to live long. There is a deep desire basically. For me? Good point. Which chart do you see? He is obviously talking about Amsya, Swamsyad. So it's not Rashi chart. The Amsya of the Karaka. So which chart do you see? If you want to see the longevity, what is the chart? We don't really know for sure, but it's probably Trimshamsa, because that is the one that shows suffering and problems. Out of all the charts that Parasara taught, for seeing death, Trimshamsa is the most suitable one. And if you want to see long life, that's probably the right chart. So I'll say use the Trimshamsa chart. The next one. Actually we are not done. So if a benefic planet of the Lord is there, it is long life. Shubhe papekshata yute alpayuh majjhayur misyadugyute. Whereas if it is malefic planets conjoining and aspecting, yuta ikshada, he mentioned both. So papa ikshata yuta. Malefic planets are either aspecting or conjoining the 8th house from Karakamsa, then short life. Majjhayur misyadugyute. Aspects and the conjunctions are mixed, like one benefic, one malefic, both are conjoining, or one benefic conjoining one malefic, vice versa. If both the influences are there, then it is mixed life. Okay? The next one. Karakamsya navame shubhagrahite kshite satyavadi guru bhaktah swadharma nirato narah. Karakamsya navame shubhagraha yutekshite. From the Karakamsa in the 9th house, shubhagraha yutekshite means a benefic planet is conjoining or aspecting. Satyavadi gurau bhaktaha swadharma nirato naraha. Satyavadi gurau bhaktaha means Satyavadi, speaker of truth, truthful, honest. Gurau bhaktaha, devoted to Guru, because 9th house is the house of Guru and Dharma. Gurau bhaktaha, he is devoted to Guru. Swadharma nirato naraha, follows one's own dharma quite well. Okay? See, this is the thing. He says Swadharma Nirto Naraha. In the Vedic paradigm, we never have this notion that this is dharma, this is right, this is wrong. This is absolute universal right, this is universally wrong. You cannot do this, you should do this. All these things have been formalized, these do's and don'ts. These have been formalized more and more as the Kali Yuga. In the old days, people didn't emphasize that doing so and so is dharma, doing so and so is papa. Dharma and adharma are personal. Depending on who you are, what your vasanas are, what your runas are, something may be dharma for you, something may not be dharma for you. For a king, killing may be dharma. For somebody who has the right vasanas, like Arjuna, killing his gurus was his dharma. Krishna told him, do your dharma. Whereas, for you and me, going and killing our gurus may not be dharma. So, depending on who you are, nature expects something to be done through you. Nature expected Arjuna to destroy so many mighty warriors and destroy so many people on earth. The to rule the kingdom. It expects different people to do different things. Nature expected Shankaracharya to go around, defeat people in debates, write books, write commentaries. Different people do different missions. So, what is good for goose is not good for gander. All these business of formalized religions, all these organized religions would say, thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do this. All this is basically an invention of Kali Yuga. There are some generic guidelines, but specifics will vary from person to person, and there is only Swadharma, own dharma. There is no you follow Hindu dharma, you follow Muslim dharma, or you follow Christian dharma. That is not the concepts of rishis. The concept of rishis is you follow your dharma. And how do you find it? Well, whatever your inspiration tells you, I should do this. Whatever your conscience tells you, I should do this. If you learn to listen to your conscience more and more, your conscience will speak louder and louder, and then you will know better and better exactly what you need to do. So there is no formula, thumb rule to finding out your dharma. You do the best job you can, and as you keep doing your dharma more and more, and with more and more detachment, your dharma will become clearer and clearer. But the bottom line is, how to find it is a different headache. Bottom line is, what matters is your dharma, not a universal dharma as given by some prophet or some proponent of some religion. Conscience. Okay, what is conscience? INS is the foundation of who you are. So what is conscience? Conscience is telling you right from wrong, right? There is a conscience within each person. It is telling you right from wrong. This is right, this is wrong. You should do this, you should not do this. Yes, it is. INS controls who is the main planet for buddhi? Huh? Yes. Basically, I sent one mail on this a while back to the list. So, yeah, no, apart from the analogy, basically, astrological mapping. So, what is buddhi? The judgment of this should be done, this should not be done. All that is governed by Jupiter, one thing, because Jupiter is the Karka for Dhishakti. And also, among Karkas, Amatya Karka. Amatya Karka is, Amatya means minister, counselor. Atmakarka, according to Parasa, is the king. And Amatya Karka is the minister. So, your sense of this is I is your Atmakarka. Atmakarka is your sense of this is I. Right? That is the king. If you take your existence as an individual person, as a kingdom, then your sense of this is I. This is so and so person with so and so desires, so and so vasana, so and so things, so and so entitlements, etc. So that is the king. And then there is a sense of purpose in life. I need to do this. This is what I need to accomplish. So that sense of purpose is the minister. So that is shown by the Amatya Karka. So that sense of purpose will be judging, guiding whatever decisions you take, right? I have this choice and this choice. What should I do? Well, it depends on what you came for, what your mission is. Not just who you are, what your entitlements are, but what your mission is. Is your mission to marry this person? Is your mission to build this temple? Is your mission to start this organization? Is your mission to teach astrology? Is your mission to this? So everybody has a mission, or sense of mission may be a big word, but sense of purpose in life. So the sense of purpose is the minister who counsels the king, the INS. So that is shown by Amatya Karka. So Amatya Karka will show At the level of what drives you, what sense of purpose is driving you, it is Amatyakarka. And then at the level of discretion, it is Jupiter. So it's Amatyakarka and Jupiter who show your buddhi.
So if there is no Amatyakaraka, will there the Ines or the
Yeah, without a minister, king cannot do much. So king comes with minister. A chart comes with Atmakarka and Amatyakarka, not just with Atmakarka. If there is only Atmakarka, he cannot function. So Atmakarka is the sense of this is I, and Amatyakarka is this is the sense of a person's sense of this is what I need to do.
So both of them still change. Even though you want something, your purpose defines what you are getting.
It counsels, but at the end of it, even if Amatyakarka is weak and Atmakarka is strong, even if your sense of purpose dictates that you should do this, it may not really happen. Basically, the minister, a weak minister who doesn't have the good ears of the king, right, he may not be able to do his agenda. So minister has his agenda, but the king calls the shots. But the thing is, if a minister is strong, right, king is just a formality. King is just the stamp, the one who puts the stamp, right. So you have to see the strength of the Amatyakarka and the strength of the Atmakarka.
So is the Amatyakarka the one who tells you what is right and what is wrong?
No.
And finally the king.
No, Amatyakarka is the one who tells you what you need to do, what your job is, what your mission is. And Jupiter, the Naisargika Dhikarka, he is the one who knows what is right, what is wrong. Right? But the thing is, at the end, when you basically, your conscience is a combination of the two. Your conscience, it knows right from wrong, and also it sees it from the prism of your dharma, what you need to do, your sense of this is what I need to do. So the thing is, the conscious, as people are aware of, it is a combination of, in my judgment, is a combination of Amatyakarka and Jupiter. It is basically the highest level of the buddhi. And it is controlled by Atmakarka also, because like I said, Atmakarka is the controller of everything in the chart. He is the king according to Parasara of the kingdom.
Is your conscience defined by the kind of environment you are in right from the childhood, the kind of background you have? So it has a lot of external influences to
It should. Which means the Amatyakarka, for example, my Amatyakarka is Mars. But the thing is, just saying my Amatyakarka is Mars doesn't mean much. He is in Aries, he is with Mercury, he is with Saturn. All these things will basically impact how Mars operates in my chart. So similarly, all the various horoscopic factors that are influencing the Amatyakarka, that are influencing the Jupiter, they basically affect your buddhi. But those are the key planets for buddhi, Amatyakarka and Jupiter. They are the key planets for buddhi. So anyway, so coming back, so we are talking about conscience. Yeah, so we are talking about Swadharma. So conscience is the one that tells you what your dharma is. But it can tell you if it is pure, if it is loud. In the beginning it is weak, but in every person it has a voice. It may be faint, it may not be a loud voice, but you can hear. If you really want to hear, everybody can hear their conscience. The only problem is, if you keep suppressing it, it will become even weaker and weaker. Whereas if you learn to listen to it, it will start to speak louder and louder. But anyway, so the interesting point I wanted to make is Swadharma Nirta. So there is no universal dharma in Vedic paradigm. It's only your dharma, depending on who you are and what your vasanas are. Satyavadi Guru Bhaktaha Swadharma Nirato Naraha. He is Swadharma Nirataha means he has attachment to his own dharma. He is quite dedicated to his own dharma. So 9 crores from Karkamsa having benefic influences. Makes sense, right? Truth is basically a form of dharma. It's actually the highest dharma. There are so many dharmas, truth is the highest dharma. So, basically dharmic person, one who is following his dharma. Guru Bhaktaha, 9th house is also the house of Guru. So one devoted to Guru. Swadharma Nirataha, one who is engaged in his dharma. So makes sense. The next one. Swantyachanava me bhave papagrahayute kshite. Swamsachanava me bhave papagrahayute kshite. Swadharmanirato balye mithyavadi cha vardhake. Okay. Swamsacha navame bhave. If the 9th house from the Karkamsa, Papagraha Yudekshite, is conjoined or aspected by a malefic planet. Swadharma nirataha balye mithyavadi cha vardhake. In the beginning, he likes, he is interested in own dharma. For me?
Nirataha means I thought we will leave the...
No. Nirataha means one who is interested. Basically, it comes from the word rati. Rati is Mamsa's wife, right? It means attachment or liking or desire. So, Swadharma Nirataha means one who is engaged in his own dharma. So, Swadharma Nirataha Balye Mithявadi Vardhake. In the childhood, he is attached to the religion and he follows his dharma. He follows his dharma correctly. He is very righteous in the beginning. But Mithyavadi Vardhake. He is all this is nonsense. There is nothing. He basically, from righteousness, he goes to just calling all this nonsense. He doesn't believe in right and wrong, God, religion, all these things. He will lose faith. So he will lose faith as he grows older. Now, if the ninth house has malefic influences, having no faith and not following dharma, being adharmic makes sense. Not being righteous and pious makes sense. But why in the childhood being righteous and then slowly becoming, what does it mean by that? Why that? Do you think that if the ninth house is badly afflicted, it is guaranteed that he will be religious in the beginning and then slowly become irreligious? Not really. What he is saying is, even if the person is born in a religious family, because in the beginning, you do what your parents do. So if you are born in a religious family in the childhood, if you are born in a religious family, in the childhood you are religious. You go to, if your parents are going to church every Sunday, you go to church every Sunday. Or your parents are going to Balaji temple every Saturday, you go to Balaji temple every Saturday. If they are going to Hanuman temple every Tuesday, you go to Hanuman temple every Tuesday or Saturday, and so on. So you follow it. What he means by this is, he doesn't mean he is guaranteed to be religious in the young age. No. What he means is, even if he is religious in the young age, he will slowly become irreligious. Because in the beginning it is the surroundings. Slowly, the influence of surroundings starts to wane, and any strong vasanas within you, they will start to bloom, like flowers blooming. And then you start to become your own boss. Of course, it is based on the Desikala Patra. If somebody is living in a culture, at a time, in a place, and in a culture where you cannot be religious, period. If you are religious, you will be hung. Suppose there were cultures like that in the past, maybe even now, right? Then he will not be religious, he will follow the religion, but he will be questioning in his mind. So this may be internal. In some cases it may be external. But the bottom line is, to the extent possible within Desikala Patra, somebody with this combination, his vasana is to be religious. So even if he follows religion in the young age, he will become religious slowly. The next one, Navamekarakam Satya Shani Grahuyute Ekshite, Navamekarakam Shani Grahuyute Ekshite, Gurudrohi Bhaved Balaha Shastre Shumkhe Bhumikho. Okay. Navame Karakamsha. Navame Karakamsha. In the ninth house from Karakamsha, Shani Rahu Yutekshite. If that Shani and Rahu are either conjoining or aspecting, the two evil planets. Gurudrohi Bhaved Balaha. The person will become Gurudrohi, means cheats the Guru. He cheats his Guru, and Shastreshu Mukho Naraha. Shastreshu Mukha Naraha means the person will become Shastreshu Mukha, means he becomes disinterested in scriptures and shastras. So he deserts his Guru, and he leaves the shastras. He is not interested in shastras. He ignores shastras. He may even speak ill of the shastras. Why? Well, again, ninth house is the house of respect of shastras, following the scriptures, and also serving the Guru, and being truthful to the Guru, having respect for the Guru, having surrender to the Guru, having commitment to the Guru. So if there is influence of Saturn and Rahu, two depleting influences, right? In that case, the person can be devoid of those qualities. But you have to take with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Suppose they are functional benefits, then the previous words will apply. Moreover, suppose they are the lords. Suppose the Karakamsha is in Gemini, and Saturn and Rahu are the ninth lords. So ninth lords aspecting ninth, it is very good then. Then it may mean he will be the first line may apply. then he may be devoted to his guru, but because of the Saturn and Rahu influence, there will be something. Maybe his guru is very traditional, Saturn shows extremely orthodox, or Rahu can show very unconventional. His guru may do very strange things that other people don't do. He may be doing unconventional sadhanas, unconventional wisdom, things like that. But he may be still committed to his guru. So always he may be giving positives in some cases, negatives in some cases. But the bottom line is, for every combination, there is a positive side and a negative side. He emphasizes only one in a particular case, so that he expands our thinking. He is giving some possibilities. It is up to us to intelligently look at him and get all the sides of the coin. He shows one side of each coin he will show to us. We have to just see both the sides. Okay. So with that we did 52 verses. So we have to start with 53 in the next class. So with that we will end the Parashara. We will do any chart example. If you guys can decide which one to do, I will restart the recording. Okay, we will see an example. This is an example that we were seeing in a previous class. We will continue it. The data is 1971, November 27, 12:25 AM. Basically early hours of the day. November 27 just came. Indian Standard Time, 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT. The place is Secunderabad, India. 78 degrees 30 minutes east, 17 degrees 27 minutes north. Okay. So the Lagna should be 14 degree 52 minutes Leo. So what are we seeing? So this person was working in a company earlier, and then he left it and joined a mining company, right? Was he a CPA or something? Chartered accountant. He was a chartered accountant. He left his job and he started a mining company some time back. And what is the current situation? He left. On May 15 he left the job. He didn't like a few weeks back. He left the job. He didn't like the job and he left it. And he joined last year, right? Last November, December, that time frame. 3 months ago. Okay. So February time frame he joined. He already left it on May 15. And now what is he doing? He started to. So he wants to start his own company. So what are we suppose? What is the question to us?
Is it okay to have partners, or he wants to?
Okay. So he wants to start a company by himself. And what kind of company do you know? What kind of work?
Consulting company.
Okay. So some accounting consultant. So he is a chartered accountant. So it's a consulting firm doing accounting services, and he wants to do it independently, and he wants to see if he can have partners in that business, or he should go it all alone. What is better?
And also he just got an offer from his old friend
Uh-huh.
who ran a PA firm for 30
Who ran?
consulting firm.
Okay.
Has his own consulting firm and wants to transfer that firm to his name, if he can run the firm.
Okay. So he met a friend who ran a consulting firm for a long time, for many years. Huh?
Yeah, 30 years.
30 years, okay. An old friend who ran a consulting firm for 30 years, he wants to transfer that firm to this person. So that friend wants to transfer the firm to this person's name, so that he has an organization with him. So is it a good idea? So that will be tricky to see, because it doesn't fit within our paradigm. We'll see. We'll try to figure out a way. Now, when did his friend propose this? Recently? Just recently, okay. So we'll see if a proposal in the recent times will be good or not. First, we rectified the chart, right? This 1225, we are happy with it based on the events. 1225:30. Okay, so the time is 1225:30. This is what we rectified earlier based on the events that we were given, like marriage, things like that, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's directly go to the Dashamsa. What is the Dasha running right now? The Dasha running right now is Mercury Dasha. Both Dasha is running. Antad Dasha? Still Mars. So Mercury, Mars, Antad Dasha is running. Mercury Dasha, Mercury Mahadasha, Mars Antad Dasha. And let us see how the Dashamsa is. Let us focus on the Dashamsa. For me? Over using Satabdika Dasha is Lagna and Vargotama? Yeah, 15 degrees Leo means Lagna will be in Vargottama. Okay, so you're using Satabdika Dasha based on Lagna? Okay, so in the last, earlier when we saw this chart, we're using the Satabdika Dasha based on Lagna Sputa.
That's why we judged that he's joined a mining company because Saturn Dasha was going.
Okay, so I see. So as soon as Saturn Dasha started, he got into a mining company. Okay, now, yeah. So he is running right now. What is he running? Saturn. Saturn Antadasha, and the Prachanta Dasha is that of Mercury. One second. What is the data? Sikandrabad, right? November 27, 1971, 12:25:30 a.m. Right? So Satabdika Dasha from Lagna or Moon? From Lagna, right? So Mercury, Saturn Mercury is from 2013. So why are you getting that?
Saturn started from 2005 to 2035.
Huh. So what is different? What Ayanamsa are you using?
Yours?
Jagannath Ayanamsa, right? Okay, one second. Let me set calculation options. Yeah. Okay, good. So some option was like true versus apparent, something was different. I just set the preferences. Yeah, I just set calculation options as recommended by author. So when I do this, I also get the same thing you get. Okay, so Saturn Dasha, Saturn Antardasha, the Prachanta Dasha right now is that of Mercury. Okay, Saturn Mercury is running, but more importantly, this is almost done. Most important thing is Jupiter is going to come. That is what we should focus on. Now, let us go to the Dashamsa. Why all these developments in Saturn? First of all, is Saturn Antardasha a good Antardasha? I think, I don't remember what we said in the last class, but Saturn is a functional malefic. He is in the 5th house, but he is a functional malefic. Actually, he is not in 5th house, he is in the 4th house. Yeah.
Because it's an Avdi Lagna.
Right.
Because the period is not good.
Right. We basically, I think we said in the last class when we saw this chart that Mars is a good planet, being the 5th lord, even though he is in the 8th house of, he is actually not in the 8th house, he is in the 7th house. So he is the 5th lord in the 7th house. Even though he is in debility, he has Nichabhanga, and moreover, he is the 5th lord of Purvapunya. So in the previous Mars Dasha, which was when 85 to 2005, this is a good Dasha in the career. But the Shani Dasha is not a favorable Dasha, because Shani is a, while Mars is the 5th lord, a functional benefic, Saturn is a Papi, functional malefic, being the 2nd and 3rd lord. And 3rd house is also the house of, it is good for initiatives, ventures, and having his own business, but it is not that good for service. And moreover, 3rd house shows breaks in the work. So Saturn being in that lord, the functional malefic, being in the 4th house of Sukha, there will be lack of Sukha in this career, lack of comfort, lack of direction, lack of peace. And he is in Arudha Lagna, so his status will take some kind of beating. Saturn in Arudha Lagna will give some beating of the status. So we said that the previous period was a good period, but unfortunately the current Dasha is not such a great Dasha. It is actually an average Dasha. So we said he should be careful. And now let us see how is Mercury. So already there has been a setback in the Mercury and the Prachanta Dasha, right? In Saturn Mercury, he already 3 months into the job he already resigned it. So why Mercury gave a setback? Why problems in the Mercury Prachanta Dasha? Does it make sense to you? Well, which house is he in the Dashamsa? He is in the 12th house, right? Lagna is at 29 degrees Sagittarius, Mercury is at 20 degrees Sagittarius. He is in the 12th house. So being in the 12th house of compromise, loss, etc., there can be some loss, or there can be some compromise that he has to make in his career. And he is the 10th lord in 12th. So he can give some setbacks. So setback is given by the 12th house. That makes sense. Now, apart from it, there are several things. You can see transits we keep mentioning, right? If you see the transits right now, do you know how Rahu and Ketu are transiting? See, Rahu and Ketu they are they great planets in this chart? No, right? Ketu is the 12th lord of loss and compromise, and Rahu is the 3rd lord of breaks. They are on the first house axis, right? So they are affecting the first house axis, and they are affecting Lagna Lord, right? Rahu and Ketu are affecting Lagna Lord within 9 degrees, Lagna Lord Jupiter. So they are not really desirable planets, Rahu and Ketu. And where are they transiting right now? Do you know where they are transiting right now? You know what? 1 second. Let me save the set preferences so that the next chart I open will use the right preferences. Let me open a new instance to see the current transits. Where is Rahu? 18 Sagittarius. 18 degrees 12 minutes Sagittarius. That is where Rahu is right now. So when the setback happened May 15, right? You said May 15, right? Around May 15 he resigned. He was at almost 19 degrees Sagittarius, right? 1846. So that's 19 degrees Sagittarius. That is where Rahu is. And where is the Lagna? Sorry, not Lagna. What I meant is this Mercury, the Prachanta Dasha Lord as well as the 10th Lord of the Dashamsha. Where is he? 20 degree 41 minutes Sagittarius. So bottom line is this gentleman joined this company when Rahu was probably in February. Rahu was probably around the 20 degree 41 minute. If you look at the exact longitude, right? He was probably right on Mercury's longitude or very close within half degree. So when Rahu was transiting over Mercury of Dashamsha, and Mercury is Karaka for career as well as Karaka for chartered accountant career as well as he is the 10th lord in this chart. So most important planet, 10th house is the house of career. So when Rahu was coming near him, that is when he made a calculation and made a wrong decision. He decided to join that company, right? And now Rahu is still within a degree. When he was still within a degree, he basically gave up that career. So all these new moves that he is making, okay, now I'll do a business, etc. All these he is doing when Mercury is under Rahu's influence. So unfortunately, he is under a bad influence right now. You see what I am saying? Okay. But the thing is, as far as business is concerned, is Rahu a bad influence? Instead of working for somebody else. Service is shown by 6th house. Further, Rahu is not good. But for the 3rd house and 7th house, Mercury is the 7th lord of business. Rahu is the 3rd lord of initiative and venture. So Rahu and Mercury interaction is good from the point of view of business and initiative. So during this Rahu transit over the natal Mercury, also this issue of taking a friend's company, etc. has come up, and he's gone independent. He started his own business. So this may be okay for his business. But the thing is, in my view, overall there is a bad transit on Mercury. So instead of doing things in the Mercury Antardasha, when Mercury is being transited by Rahu, it is better actually that things happen in the Jupiter Prachanta Dasha. Bottom line is your Mahadasha Lord, Prachanta Dasha Lord, Antardasha Lord, those are important. If their natal positions in any divisional chart are being hammered by a bad planet or being blessed by a good planet in the chart, in the natal chart, in the transit, it will basically be either good or bad respectively. So you have to be mindful of the transits also apart from the dashas. So anyway, so when is the Jupiter Antardasha starting? Good. One more thing is, if you look at Mercury, right, from Saturn, the Antardasha Lord, taking Saturn, the Antardasha Lord as Lagna, Mercury is the 6th Lord, and he is probably in the 8th house or 9th house. I don't even care. Bottom line is he is the 6th Lord. So is he really that conducive to starting a business and starting a good business? Not really. He is 6th Lord. From Lagna he is the 7th Lord, true, but he is in the 12th house. And from Saturn, the Antardasha Lord, he is the 6th Lord of service. So the thing is, it's not really a great Prachanta Dasha to start a business. Of course, the person may be in a hurry and he may have already started, but the thing is, what we advise, we should give the advice correctly. And unfortunately, we may have missed the window. When Seshu asked us originally if we saw it, maybe we could have given timely advice. Maybe he already started, we don't know. But the thing is, the time right now is not really a great time. Jupiter, Prachanta Dasa, how is it? Jupiter is the Lagna Lord, right? And he is in the first house, which means he is aspecting the 7th house. So Lagna Lord in the first house aspecting the 7th house. Even though he is in debility, he has Nijabhanga, so he is fine. So if you ask me, and moreover from the Antardasa Lord Saturn, he is the 9th Lord. He is the 9th Lord in the 10th house. That is very good. Connection between 9th and 10th is always good, right? Because Saturn is at 4 degree Aries, Jupiter is at 29 degree Capricorn. So he is on the he is in the 10th house, the 9th Lord. So and he is a functional benefit from Saturn. And from Lagna, he is the Lagna Lord, showing foundation of the career. He is the main planet for the career. So in my judgment, Jupiter Prachanta Dasa will give him some clarity. Mercury Prachanta Dasa is a Prachanta Dasa of losses, compromises, mistakes, etc. And when is the Prachanta Dasa change? I forget. So July 9. So in my view, for another month or so, he should just take things easy, not really do anything hasty. And when the right time comes, after July 9, in the month of July, that is when he should actually do the real work. And now, is that Prachanta Dasa good for him? Well, we already saw it is good for him. Is it good for business? Well, it is good for business. Why? Why is it good for business? Pardon me? He is aspecting the 7th house, right? So if you look at the aspects, planetary aspect evaluation, aspecting planet in Dasamsa, aspected positions also in Dasamsa. Let's take like that. So if you see the 7th house cusp, 7th from Lagna, what is Jupiter's aspect? Oh, actually Jupiter doesn't have aspect on the 7th house. So Jupiter does not have aspect on the 7th house. So can he give business then? He is the, okay, good point. He is the dispositor of 7th Lord. What else? Does he have any aspect on the A7? Because A7 is the actual business, right? Does he have any aspect on the A7? Let's see. He has 43% on aspect on A7. So he has half aspect on A7. Yeah, but there is a lot of distance, so I won't even think about it. You see what I mean? He is with Venus, but Venus is at what degree? And he has another 50% aspect on A3. So he is aspecting A3 and A7, right? So he is aspecting A3 and A7, and he is aspecting the Lord of those two. Who is the Lord of A3 and A7? Mars. And is he aspecting Mars? He is aspecting 99%. See, Mars is the Karaka for business. He is the Lord of A3 and A7. And he is in the 7th house. So not at the cusp. He is in the 7th house. And that Mars, so he is the key for business. And he is having Jupiter's aspect by 99%. And Jupiter is also aspecting A3 and A7. So he has potential to give. He has potential to give business. But the thing is, he is after all Prachanta Dasa Lord. The main Dasa Lord and Antardasa Lord is Saturn. Is Saturn capable of giving business? Then, if that is the case, then only it will happen, right? Is this a good idea at all? Let's see in the Saturn Antardasa. Saturn has 100% aspect on business on the 7th house. So basically, Dasha and Antardasa are of a planet having a perfect aspect on 7th house, and also he is in A7 and A3. So that is why business is unavoidable. He won't be serving in this Dasha. He will be doing business. And Jupiter Prachanta Dasa is quite good. Now, can he take something that somebody else built? Is it a good time to take an organization built by somebody else? How do you see that? How do you see collaborating with a friend? How do you see collaborating with a friend? Yeah? How do you see a friend?
11th house
Yeah, very good.
A11 could be.
Yeah. What is A7 and what is A11? Tell me. Right, both are friends. Shastras mention both 11th house and 7th house for friends. What is A7 and what is A11? Tell me.
A11 is close friend.
Yeah. A11 is people that you know well. Right? A11 is people that you know well and you are close with. And A7 is people that you deal with, you just interact with. So A11 is close friends and A7 is general relations and interactions. So anyway, A11 is in Cancer and A11 has 70% aspect from Saturn and it has some aspect from Jupiter, but it's not really that strong. So he is taking from he's just, instead of building something, he's just taking it from a friend. How do you see that? Taking something. For me? Yeah, very good. Yeah. As far as A11 is concerned, A11 is your friend, and 12th from that is friend basically giving up something, right? 12th house from A11 is friend giving something. So A11 is in Cancer at what longitude? A11 is at 11.5 degree Cancer. So the 12th from there is 11.5 degree Gemini, and it has aspect 100% aspect from Saturn and 80% aspect from Jupiter. So Jupiter has a very strong, more than 3/4 aspect, right? He has 4/5 aspect on the 12th from 11. So in this period, they can be a friend can basically give up something. But the thing is, friend giving up something, is it good for him? Is it suddenly giving him a fortune? Is it suddenly, how do you see whether this is good for him? Right? Right? A9 is fortune basically, right? Your fortune. And A5 is the result of your Purva Punya. So if A5 or A9 are associated with that, with the 11th from 12th from 11, it can mean a fortune will come to you as a result of friend giving up something. Whereas if A8 is there, that means friend is giving up something and a setback is, suppose A8 is weak, it's a weak A8, it can also mean it is a setback for you. You may think, oh, he is giving it to me, but you may inherit something quite bad. So let us see how, where is A9? A9 is at 29 degree Gemini. So it is actually in the 12th house from 11. The 12th house from 11 is from 11.5 degree Gemini to 11.5 degree Cancer. So the cusp of A9, which is at 29 degree Gemini, it is in the 12th house from 11. So building a fortune, A9 is his fortune, building a fortune, having a fortune. So he having a tangible fortune, and all Arudas are tangible things. So having a tangible fortune at the loss of a friend or at the compromise of a friend or giving up of a friend, right, is a possibility. Secondly, A9 is very close to the cusp of the 7th house. 7th house cusp is around that only. We can't be sure. The rectification may be off by a minute or so, so you can't be sure of the exact longitudes, but it is around 29 degree Gemini only, because Lagna is at 29 degree Sagittarius. So, right? So A9 is on the cusp of around the cusp of the 7th house, which shows business. So this fortune that comes to him, A9, can be related to business, 7th house business, relationship and business and partnership, etc. Right? So, and Jupiter has aspect on it, 51% aspect. Jupiter has 51% aspect. Again, Saturn has 100% aspect on A9 also.
So not partnership.
Pardon me?
Not partnership.
7th house can be partnership. And 7th house is interacting with others. If you want to see partnership, we'll answer the question on partnerships a little later. But bottom line is, regarding the question of whether he can take something from his friend or not, his friend wants to give up his organization, whatever he built to him, so that he can operate with that. That sounds like a good idea to me. It seems to me like it will bring him fortune rather than rather than a setback in the long run. So that seems like a good idea. So he should take what his friend is giving him. Now the thing is, should he be involved in a partnership? How do you see partnerships? 7th house is your interaction with other people and dealing with other people. And a tangible partnership, you have multiple owners of the organization or something. What shows it? It is a tangible thing, right? Having an actual partnership is a tangible thing. Which factor shows it? A7, right? A7. Now, how is A7 placed with respect to all these? With respect to the A11, with respect to A9, etc. It doesn't really have any link with those things, right? It is elsewhere. And influence of Jupiter on A7 as well as Mercury on A7 is very small. Whereas if you take A9 or the 12th from A11, Mercury has a very strong influence on it. So that is why in Mercury Pratyadha Dasha, also Saturn has a strong aspect, 100% aspect. So in Saturn Dasha, Mercury Pratyadha Dasha, the offer came, the proposal came. So, but A7 is not really that powerful in this chart. And let's look at the longitudes. Where is A7? Let's go back to the longitude window, all divisional longitudes, and A7 is at 10.5 degree Aries. And where is Saturn? The Dasha Lord is in the 12th house from A7. The Dasha Lord is in the 12th house from A7. Is it good or bad for partnerships? Saturn in the 12th from an Arudha. Is it good for Arudha or bad for Arudha? What did we learn earlier? Forget that it's A7. Think it's Arudha Lagna. If Saturn is in the 12th from Arudha Lagna, is it good or bad? Is it a Rajayoga or bad Duryoga? It is good. Saturn in the 1st and 2nd from Arudha Lagna is bad for the image. But Saturn in the 12th is good. So, as far as Saturn is concerned, from the A7, he is actually giving Rajayoga to the A7. So, in general, partnerships are good during the Saturn Antardasha. Now, one more thing. How is Mercury and how is Jupiter? Mercury is at 20 degree Sagittarius, so he doesn't really have much to do with A7. But does Jupiter have much to do with A7? As we saw earlier, Jupiter is aspecting the Lord of A7 by some 90% aspect, right? Mars. So, both Saturn and Jupiter are conducive to A7. So, my feeling is, it is perfectly fine to accept the offer of his friend, the proposal of his friend, take the entity, but it is better, actually he can take the entity right now also. Mercury Pratyadha Dasha as well as Jupiter Pratyadha Dasha are fine. But if he wants to formalize that as a multi-owner thing and have multiple owners, multiple partners of that organization that he is getting from his friend, like have his friend and maybe some other people, his wife or whoever. If he wants to do that, my suggestion would be wait till Jupiter Pratyadha Dasha. Jupiter is better for A7 compared to Mercury. So my suggestion would be accept the offer, but wait till July, and after July 10, formalize everything and formalize a partnership. And it is perfectly fine to have partners in his business. Okay. But overall, do we expect his business to be very successful or okay, average? What do we expect? Like we said earlier, right? Saturn is at 4 degree Aries, and Arudha Lagna, where is it? Arudha Lagna. It is at 28 degree Pisces. So he is actually very close to the cusp of the Arudha Lagna. So Saturn in Arudha Lagna is not good. He will be seen as somebody who's a loser. I mean, that's a strong word, but compared to the previous period, where Mars is, where is Mars placed from Arudha Lagna? He is placed in the 5th house of Purva Punya from Arudha Lagna, and he is the Lord of the 5th house from Lagna and placed in the 5th house from AL. So he, in that dasha, he seems like somebody, a fortunate guy, somebody who did lot of punya in the previous life. That is why things are working out nicely for him. So he was, the previous dasha that ran was actually much better. The current dasha is average. So don't expect great rocking business. It will do okay. It will not be absolutely great. So prepare for average business and go for partners and do it after July. Okay. So that is what I would say to the person. Any other comments or any other questions, anything you want to say? Anything else? Yeah. Good point. So you want to look at A6. Yeah. So his point is, he is looking at all Arudhas. We said A11 is in the 11th degree Cancer, and we said A9 Fortune is in the 12th house from it. Now A6 is in actually the 11th house from it. So as far as the 12th house is concerned, A6 is not there. So that's fine. So A6 is not really interfering with A9. It is far away. Any other questions? Oh, by the way, A5 is also there. We didn't see A5. A9 and A5 both are there. That is excellent. That is awesome. So Arudha of the Purvapunja and Arudha of the Fortune, both are together in the 7th house, near the 7th house cusp, in the 12th house from 11. So actually having a lucky break by being given by a friend is actually quite possible. So
Is this the friend whom he worked with earlier for 20 years or so?
we don't know. Okay. So any other questions, comments, anything else you want to point out? Any other things?
From Atmakaraka, can we see something like
Whatever we learned, yeah, sure, why not? Let's apply what we learned. Where is Atmakaraka? Atmakaraka is moon, right? Now take the Samsa and let's go back to the longitudes, because we really need longitudes to see the houses. Or what we can do is we can start the Bhava chart with reference to, oh sorry, what did I do? With reference to this moon and not Rashi but the Samsa, okay? Okay, what do you see? So from moon as from moon as reference, in the house of career, the 10th house has Mars and Ketu. What does that show? What do Mars and Ketu show?
He is a technical person. Not a Ganak. Ketu can be calculated. Mars. Technical, logical, working with maths because it's Ketu.
Ketu can show mathematical, yeah. And Mars, what does Mars show? The 10th house from Atmakaraka. Yeah. Somebody with lot of fire. Mars is a planet of fire. Lot of initiative, fire driven. So somebody with a very driven career, right? So his sense of highness is defined by a drive in the career. His work is characterized by a drive, a killer instinct, which is shown by Mars. Some kind of entrepreneurship, enterprise. So Mars is the giver of enterprise. Now the 3rd house has Mercury. What does that show? 3rd house is the house of communications. What does that show?
Is a good communicating ability?
Yeah, good communicating abilities. So his sense of this is I is includes, as far as career is concerned, it includes a good communication. So it shows there is a good chance that he will be a good communicator. Now what else? A malefic planet Saturn is in the 6th house. Right? Do you remember?
Yeah, that is
Karshaka. Of course, he is not a farmer, but bottom line is he is a workaholic. At the soul level, basically, he tends to be a workaholic. He may or may not do on the ground, but the deep instinct wise, he wants to work hard and get things done. So he is a workaholic. He wants to be a workaholic. He aspires to be a workaholic. His soul contains vasanas, conditioning that is conducive to being a workaholic. Whether actually environment develops in such a way that he can be a workaholic or not is a different issue. But his soul basically contains vasanas. These are all vasanas. So the vasanas point at a workaholic. They point at a good communicator. His instincts, he has the right instincts needed for a good communicator. He has the right instincts needed for a workaholic. Atmakaraka shows basically your instincts, and those instincts may or may not fructify based on the environment, and so many other factors. So you have to look from Lagna also. From Lagna, how is third house? Well, third house is not that good, but Mercury is in Lagna. Mercury has some influence on Lagna, even though he is not in the first house. So you can judge like that. But bottom line is, he has the instincts of a good communicator. His instincts are those of a fighter, an entrepreneur, and a workaholic. Saturn especially, not just any malefic planet, is Saturn, the planet of struggle and hard work and discipline. So he is, for me, and the side is running right now, so that influence will be dominating. So workaholic. What else can you say apart from workaholic? So Saturn shows workaholic, Mercury shows communicator. Sun in the first house. What does that show? Somebody who looks at himself as a king. Sun is the king, right? So first house has sun. Somebody who wants to be making the calls. Somebody who doesn't like somebody else to make the calls and follow. Somebody who wants to be the king. The instincts of a boss. He has the managerial instincts of a king. What else? Do you want to see another divisional chart?
Just by the virtue of Atmakarka, can you tell what kind of a person he is, and because its moon is might be cheerful, or because its moon has an influence of Shani on it as well as.
Right. Parasara did not say just based on who Atmakarka is, but he said based on who is with him, who is aspecting him, and in which sign he is. He is in Libra, right? We saw all those earlier. So Atmakarka Karkamsa in Libra, what does it show? Somebody who's skilled in business, somebody who's balanced. Libra is the sign of balance. So somebody who's diplomatic, who's balanced, who's mature. Bottom line is he may or may not be, because Lagna is Dhanus. He may or may not be really balanced, but his instincts are to be balanced, to be fair, to be reasonable, and to be seen as he basically thoughts that just come instinct wise. They basically make him behave diplomatically, but he may or may not end up doing it. And in several cases, when the instincts are showing in one direction, and when actually what you end up doing is different, the clash will build between them. So if the Lagna and the Atmakarka, if they are showing in different directions, it results in a clash between the two and dissipation of energy. You are unable to follow your instincts. You are unhappy.
Can we basically identify if the Amatyakarka is helping Atmakarka here?
Yes, sure. Who is Amatyakarka? Jupiter is at 21 degrees, so he is the Amatyakarka, right? So, how is Amatyakarka? The Dashamsha. How is Amatyakarka? Atmakarka moon is at 5 degree Libra. Amatyakarka Jupiter is at 29 degree Capricorn. He is in the 4th house. Amatyakarka is in a quadrant from the Atmakarka. And is it a good relationship or not? Oh, basically what happened? Oh, you know what? This is loose. Huh? No, this was loose. So, Amatyakarka being in quadrants or trines from Atmakarka is a good, it's a Raj Sambandha Yoga, right? It's a good combination. Bottom line is, the relationship between them is good. And moreover, are the friends or enemies? They are friends. If you do Jupiter, Moon, you want to see the relationships. Compound relationships. Jupiter is a friend. And if you want to see from, with respect to Jupiter, does he see Atmakarka as friend or not? Oh, what happened? Okay, anyway, I will give up. So, the only problem is he is debilitated and he is afflicted by Rahu. Amatyakarka is debilitated and he is afflicted by Rahu. So, as far as right, Rahu influence is there on Jupiter, and Jupiter is the one who defines his sense of purpose in career. I mean, actually, he defines sense of purpose everywhere, but this Jupiter in Dasamsa, he defines his sense of purpose in career, what he needs to do. Okay. So, what is the relationship between Atmakarka and Amatyakarka? They are friends and they are in mutual quadrants. So this is a case of minister and king being in good terms. So when minister and king are in good terms, what the minister wants to do has a good chance of getting done. So in these cases, don't go by Atmakarka, just go by Amatyakarka. Amatyakarka is more important than Atmakarka. Whereas if Amatyakarka is very weak, then Amatyakarka will not do much. So go by Atmakarka then. But then, if king has to do everything, it's unlikely that much will be done. If both are strong, that is better. Now, what is his sense of purpose? How do you judge his sense of purpose? What is the sense of purpose of this person in life, in career? It is seen from the sixth house from Amachkarka. Right? Sixth house is the obstacles that you overcome. The obstacles that you overcome. So, sixth house from Amachkarka is the obstacles you overcome to fulfill your sense of purpose in life. So that is why Parashara specifically mentions, when he mentions gods to see from various house planets, he mentions two factors, 12th house from Atmakarka and the 6th house from Amatyakarka. Why? Atmakarka is your ego, your I. This is I, the definition. So that if you want to get moksha, that needs to be given up, and giving up is from the 12th house. So 12th from Atmakarka shows giving up your sense of this is I. But then it's not easy to just simply give up. Okay, I'm Narasimha. No, I'm not Narasimha. I'm Brahman. If you just say, even if you write a million times, I'm Brahman, you won't become Brahman. You still you are Narasimha, because maybe this Narasimha wants to do something. Until he actually does it, he will be blocked from realizing his true nature. Similarly, you have various desires from previous lives. Until you fulfill, some of those must be fulfilled. Without it, you can't realize self. So you have to fulfill your mission before, your sense of purpose, before you overcome your ego. So for some people, more than the 12th from Atmakarka, the 6th from Amatyakarka is more important, because that shows overcoming the obstacles to fulfilling one's purpose. So your purpose, suppose your purpose may be to build a temple. You promised to build a temple somewhere long back, or to build a hospital in your native town, whatever it is, whether small or big or universal or personal, whatever it is, until your soul, whatever its sense of purpose is fulfilled, you won't be free. So that is why Parashara says 12th from Atmakarka, and in the same breath he says 6th from Amatyakarka. He doesn't say Pavana Devata, Icha Devata, this Devata. These names are made up by people of our generation. These are not Parashara's names. He just says to see a person becoming free, liberated, moksha or savijja, see the 12th from Atmakarka, 6th from Amatyakarka. He said both in the same context. So what it means is, for somebody, if the work that he has to do, important work, for that he came, finishing that work may enable him. Maybe he won't get moksha, but maybe it will give a big push spiritually. So 6th from Amatyakarka is very important. It can give big push when that is important in the chart. Anyway, for this person it may or may not be giving spiritual push, so let's ignore the spiritual aspect. But materially, the 6th from Amatyakarka is Gemini.
Shouldn't we base it on the Bhavachakra and the Amatyakarka?
Swami?
Would it be good if we base the Bhavachakra?
Yeah, based on Amatyakarka, Jupiter. The thing is, I'm just looking at the longitude, so I'm not looking at. Okay, so Jupiter. The 6th house from Jupiter contains Mars and Ketu. Right? So Mars and Ketu are in the 6th house from Amatyakarka. So the sense of purpose is defined by Mars and Ketu. Mars shows enterprise, especially this is a Mars in the 7th house from Lagna, and he is the Lord of A7. So he shows business, enterprise, this kind of things. So that Mars being in the 6th house from Amatyakarka, it is very likely that he is driven about this. Internally, at the level of the soul and instincts, his instincts are driving him into business. He really wants to do business. His soul's sense of purpose is defined by having a good business, having a successful business. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
So to
Yeah.
within this what's going to happen.
Yeah. So if you want to make it easy for him to fulfill his purpose, his sense of purpose, right? Overcome the obstacles and fulfill his sense of purpose. What is the worship he should do? What is the ideal thing? Well, Mercury is the Lord and Mars and Ketu are there. So which one? It can be either Mercury or Mars and Ketu. And Mars and Ketu, Mars is also the Lord of A7. And he is the one being aspected by Jupiter, the next Prajapati Lord. So Mars is, and moreover he is the fifth Lord of Porpanya. So in my view, more than Mercury, I would focus on Mars. Okay? And he is also in the 10th house from Atmakaraka. Right? So the work fulfilled by the Ines. The work fulfilled by the Ines is shown by Mars, and also the obstacles overcome in order to fulfill the sense of purpose, fulfill the mission, is shown by Mars. So Mars is a key planet. So I will, and he's in the 7th house from Lagna, showing business, and he's the A7 Lord. So based on all these factors, and he has a close aspect with Prachanda Lord Jupiter, and he is the dispositor of Dasha Lord and Antardasha Lord Saturn. So I will suggest Mars. And who should we worship for Mars? Mars can be Hanuman, Subramanya, so many possibilities are there. But here Mars is debilitated. So for debilitated Mars we say female deities. That is one possibility. The other possibility is Mars is with Rahu Ketu influence. Right? Is it a strong influence? Yeah, reasonably strong. So Mars is with Rahu Ketu influence. So what do you suggest for that? Rahu Ketu influence is the Sarpa influence. So Mars with Rahu Ketu influence can be Subramanya. Right? So worshipping, so the way I look at it, worshipping Subramanya is a good idea. So read Subramanya Ashtakam or any mantras or prayers of Subramanya. That should be good for his career. Okay? Any other thoughts? Any other takes? In case it's a female deity, Mars and Ketu combination is basically a fierce deity, very fierce deity. So, and it's Mars and Ketu. So, who should it be? It can be Chamundeshwari. Mars and Ketu, basically warriors. Mars is a warrior, and Ketu is a fierce, unpredictable warrior. So, some kind of warrior deity should be worshipped. So, it can be Bhairavi. It can be Chamundeshwari, Chamunda, so the Chamundi, those are the possibilities. Anything else? But the thing is, my take is, forget debilitated planets showing female deities and exalted planets showing male deities. Forgetting that, the bottom line is he has Nijabanga, and the thing is he is in Aslesha Nakshatra, in the Dashamsa. He is in, if you take the Nakshatras in Dashamsa, he is in Gandanta. If you look at his longitude, right, he is at 29.5 degree Cancer. He is in a Gandanta. So Aslesha is that part of the end of Cancer is associated with Sarpadevatas. Not only is he under Rahu Ketu influence, but he is in a Nakshatra of Sarpa. Aslesha is owned by Sarpadevatas. So there is a lot of Sarpa influence. So that takes me to Subramanya. Secondly, Jupiter has a very close aspect on him, right? Within, like, see, 29-27, 29-39. See the longitudes, extremely close, even in the Samsa. So Jupiter has a perfect aspect. And who is Jupiter? He is basically Brahmana. He is a Brahmana, and he represents the knowledge of Brahman. He is pure. And Subramanya, his name is Subramanya. He is basically one who has, he is a warrior, but at the same time, while he fights, he is established in Brahman. He represents the knowledge of, the pure knowledge of Brahman. So Jupiter aspecting Mars and Rahu Ketu having association, Aslesha being there, strongly suggests Subramanya to me, rather than not Kartikeya form or not other forms, Skanda, but Subramanya. So Subramanya is the Devata, in my opinion. So any Subramanya mantra, or like Subramanya Ashtam is a great idea. Valli Sanatha Mamadehi Karavalambam, that one. Subramanya Ashtam is there, right? So that he can chant. So I will suggest Subramanya Ashtakam, any Subramanya mantra. Any other comments, any other questions, thoughts, musings? Okay, so in that case we will end. So am I recording this?